There is about to be a real resurgence in the handheld video game market. A renaissance, if you will. Let's talk about why. Two things I love to talk about is beard care and video games. So we're going to do both in this new long form segment that I'll just call Tofer Talks, where I sit down and I talk with you while I am performing my morning beard care routine ritual, because this is what it looks like when I get out of the shower. I know, it's unruly, but by the end of this, you'll see. So one of the things that I have been a fan of my entire life is handheld video games. Ever since the late 80s, early 90s, when the world got to see the Game Boy, it's always been my preferred way to play. Also, the first thing that always goes in is the beard balm. Today feels like a beach day, so I'm going to use Orca, which is tropical citrus and cedar. That always goes in first, right after the shower. Now, back in the 90s, when the Game Boy set the market on fire, things were very different. And really, there was one reason why the Game Boy did as well as it did. It's because of Tetris. Second thing I always put in, a little bit of beard oil. Today I'm going to use the Contra scent, which is cherry, vanilla, and some tobacco leaf. Now, after the Game Boy hit, there were quite a few other companies that put handhelds on the market. You know, we saw the Sega Game Gear, we saw the Atari Lynx, all to varying degrees of success. None of them could get close to matching the success of the Game Boy, and mostly because, again, of Tetris. Nintendo really scored with that one. Now, since then, we've seen Nintendo dominate the market with the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Advance SP, the DS, the 3DS, the new 3DS, and now the Nintendo Switch. And over all that time, there have been other companies that have tried to varying degrees in creating a rivaling video game handheld. Sony being the most notable, with the PSP, PlayStation Portable, and the PlayStation Vita. Why did those fail? Historically, the technology for a handheld console has always been far behind something like a home console. Now, what exactly does that mean? It means you have to develop two different games. You have to develop a game for your console, which is what most people are buying, and then you have to have a development studio, whether it be in-house or third party, develop something for the handheld console. Like we saw Super Mario Land and Super Mario Land 2, and then we saw the Wario games. But Nintendo was smart enough over the years to have franchises that would only release on their handhelds. The Pokemon franchise. And the popularity of that franchise absolutely drove Nintendo handheld sales. No doubt, right? Now, in order to keep this beard somewhat tamed, I have to use a hot beard brush. I know this seems like a lot, right? My wife always tells me that I should thoroughly dry my beard before using the beard brush, but I kind of like the crackling sound. And here's something interesting we are currently seeing. We are seeing technology on the handheld side get pretty damn close to the technology that is being used in the home consoles. That's why we don't see Nintendo making a home console and a handheld console anymore. The Nintendo Switch does both. And I believe for the first time we got a mainline Pokemon game on a home console, but it's a hybrid, right? So let's say historically Sony releases a handheld console. Let's use the PlayStation Vita, for instance. The Vita had some great games. Let's use a game like Uncharted Golden Abyss for an example, right? You got Golden Abyss on the PlayStation Vita, which was a good game for a Vita game. But you didn't see that come to the PlayStation 3, right? That's because they were developing their own Uncharted games for a home console, and then the stripped down version that would run properly on the PlayStation Vita. Well, the time is nigh. We have entered the era of the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, and even the rumored Xbox handheld, and potentially a new PlayStation handheld. But why is it any different now? After you're all done, you always put a little more beard oil to keep it down. Let's take something like a Steam Deck, for instance. You have Steam installed on your PC, and you have this Steam Deck. You buy a game on Steam, you play it on your PC. You also play that same game on your Steam Deck. Much like the ROG Ally and the Nintendo Switch. So where does that leave us? At a very interesting crossroads. And at that crossroads, we're about to see the home video game console market cross paths with the handheld video game console market. Presumably, Xbox releases a portable Xbox. They also still release a console. And you can play the same game on each of those. This is something that up until recently, we've never really been able to do before. You didn't see Super Mario Bros. Or Super Mario Bros. 2 on the Game Boy. You saw Super Mario Land. You didn't see Killzone 2 or 3 on the PlayStation Vita. You got Killzone Liberation. Well, things are about to change, and things are about to get real interesting. Personally, I'm really excited about it. Are you? Oh, and I should mention that the beard products that I use are provided by 8-Bit Beard Company. If you want to check them out, I have a link in my link tree above. And new long-form episodes of Tofer Talks will be releasing every Sunday morning. So, I hope you enjoy.